Okay, amazing. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for taking the time to join this webinar. We are super excited to have you here, and we're going to interview Alex. She's an amazing language teacher, and we're going to speak about employment and ways of working in Greece. I'm Chloe, the founder of My Greek Expat Journey, and our goal is to help new expats relocate to Greece by giving them access to a verified network of professionals. So let's go ahead and begin. Alex, would you like to briefly say a few words and introduce yourself and what you're currently doing at this moment, including drinking your lovely drink?
This is just water. These are reusable ice cubes. So it looks like I'm getting day drunk, but I promise I'm not. I am English, but I wouldn't go that far. It's only 9 o'clock in the morning over here. So, um, so I've been a teacher for 8 years. I have 2 teaching certificates, and I got my first one in Corinth with a school called Anglo-Hellenic. Now, they claimed to be the best in the business or the head of the organization or something or other. But the truth is they're closed now, and I think they've been blacklisted. So my first word of advice is watch out who you trust. When you're looking at a website, always look for logos of authentication and maybe do a bit of research. Everybody has a computer and a smartphone nowadays, so nothing's stopping you from doing a bit of research. Don't make leaps of faith. You've got to look before you leap. I moved to Greece in 2015, and that was when the riots were breaking out. I just graduated from university, the University of Kent, with a degree in sociology, hadn't decided what to do with my life, and I didn't pick wisely, but I must say it was such a valuable experience going through all of that. And I feel bad for young people nowadays who don't have the same opportunities that I had for whatever reason, because when we went into lockdown, 3.5 years ago, I honestly feel like that is not the hardest thing I've ever been through. Like, you think moving to a foreign country when things were a bit rough, that, yeah, it put hairs on my chest, I think the expression is.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And if you were to, let's say, go back to your experience in Greece, what was it like for you? You mentioned the riots. What was this experience like living and work? Well, I assumed you were working in Greece as well, right?
I was, yeah, yeah. I think money management. I think nowadays people are poorly educated on how to handle their money. It's one of those assumptions that we'll just learn on the job. You are not told anything about how to handle your money at school. You don't know what counts as a lot of money and what counts as not very much money. You know how to price things up in your head. The cost of living is obviously very different in Athens from the UK, and yeah, I think as a language person, I'm not a maths person, so I would say the number crunching my way around a different country after university, that was probably the hardest part. Looking at your electricity bill and not knowing whether that was a normal amount. Should it be that much? Or is that normal?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I don't know if you heard about this, but there was a spike in electricity and energy bills, I think last year. And when I received
Mm,
my electricity
mm.
bills, it was like double what it was supposed to be, but apparently that was normal because like many
Yeah.
households were going through, that. But I think it was also a worldwide thing with the Ukraine war going on. So yeah, when I looked at my utilities, I was like
Yeah, I've heard that.
definitely, yeah, definitely shocked.
That
But
can't
okay,
be right. Yeah, yeah, it's
yeah.
crazy as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the number crunching. So, budgeting, guys, it's always good to budget.
Mm.
And what would you say your favorite thing about Greece was?
The simplicity. It was a bit of a culture shock to go from university to teaching and living on my own in Greece. I didn't move straight to Athens. I went to this awful small city called Agrinia,
because the agency insisted that it would be, quote, better for me than Athens. Having grown up in London, I don't think of Athens as a big city. I think it's the perfect size. And Agrinio was, it was not very smiley and not very sunny, and the people weren't very welcoming. So when I got to Athens, it was how welcoming the people were, and the fact that I made friends with people that were also between jobs and struggling with money, but they were so sociable and so inviting and chatty, and it was nothing like uni, and I really missed university. But now I look back and I just think life in the UK is actually it's complicated, and life over in Greece, once you've got past all the hassle with opening a bank account, God forbid, you think, okay, I'm worried about money, but I'm also enjoying, as I said, the simple pleasures, things that you don't pay for, like a nice walk and the beautiful view and the friendly faces, the delicious foods that costs very little. And yes, I say that as an English person as well. Of course, the food, of course.
100% agree with you on that. I think there's so much diversity here as well, like, and the food is just incredible. I think if you taste, just tomato or like something, it has so much just taste and flavor. Whereas I think when I was like living in England, like it was just so plasticky. So I definitely agree with you on that. And you mentioned you set up your bank account in Greece.
What did you say?
Yeah, your bank account. So can you take us through what the process of maybe getting paperwork and, obviously Greek bureaucracy, because I think our members would really want to hear about this.
Well, the bank account thing, okay. So your employer has to choose your bank, the bank for you. You can't just go, oh, I'm with Nationwide, or oh, I've got an Alpha Bank or a PRS Bank or something. Like, no. You have to be with Ethniki Trapeza because that's the bank with whom we operate. And you think, oh, all right. So how many bank account cards am I going to have? Can't I just give you my details? No. So I had 2 jobs the last time I worked there, and I think it must have taken me about 2 months to get paid, purely just from the hassle of you have to have one document in order to get another document, and that first document might take a while to process. You have to make an appointment with the bank, and you could be sitting there for hours. It feels like the 70s sometimes, which is cute, but it's also very frustrating. You go in there and you just feel like you could be waiting forever for something as simple as a couple of rubber stamped documents, and sometimes they make a couple of typing errors as well. Like when I was in Italy, I went through the same thing. They typed M instead of F, and I had to go through the whole thing again. And I think one digit was missing from my passport number when I first opened a bank account in Greece, and I just thought, oh, you're joking. It's the littlest things can send you right back to where you started. So you have to have something called an affimi. I'm sure you know about that. And I don't even know if I'm eligible for one of those or what lengths I would have to go through now that we've left the European Union, because it's just not as automatically registered. So the hassle of getting paid, I would say make sure you have plenty in your normal bank account, the one from back home, before you go to Greece, because you just don't know how long you're going to be waiting for it. And the chances are you'll have to get up super early, get to the bank, get in the queue, get your ticket as though you're at the supermarket waiting at the delicatessen or something. Get in line, and you could be waiting for so long that you end up going out and getting coffee and a sandwich or something. And then before you know it, you've done that so many times that you're just like, oh, geez, I can't do this anymore. I've got to go to work. I'm going to have to just go through the whole process all over again. My mates are like, oh, she's in Greece. Oh, I'm so jealous. Mate, I am not at the beach. I'm at the bank. I'm I'm not getting a tan.
I'm going to get lunch and go to work.
Oh my gosh. I think you summarized the typical experience, I think, for any expat or foreigner here with, struggling to set up a bank account and obviously waiting for hours and then also having work and other deadlines and other errands to run. And
Pretty much.
it can be, mhm. And it can be such like, I think, an unpleasant experience. Obviously, there are so many things to appreciate about this country, but I think paperwork and bureaucracy is
Absolutely.
just something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah. I
something.
mean, it was the same in Italy. We spent the whole time, me and my colleagues, trying to settle in and get the internet settled, and then you've got to deal with electricity or gas, or just you don't know what kind of stuff that you might have to go through. So there's no such thing as being too prepared. The documentation, I haven't even bothered looking into what lengths I would have to go through, because I'm making so little money in the UK at the moment in my particular line of work, because it's been hit so hard by Brexit, and because we've had so many problems locally as well. So many shops have closed. We've had so many train strikes and cancellations that, business is bad. So I would have to spend of course the cost of living is ridiculous. I'd have to spend a lot more time saving up money, just not just for the moving costs, but for the getting started money. So if I were to go to Greece now, I would need 1 month's rent, 1 month's deposit, of course, or however much they're asking, moving costs, including flights and what have you, and then of course 1 month's food. You're going to need spending money when you're there. If you have to buy a ticket to work, always bear in mind strikes as well. I cannot stress that enough. Because we've been having strikes here in the UK, I have not been able to go to work, and I have said to employers, hello, we have a strike on Thursday, and they look at you and they're not Greek, they say, my boss is here in England, they say, oh, we'll just see how it goes. See how it goes. There is going to be a strike. I am not getting a taxi to work. So in Athens, taxis are fairly cheap. Traffic is horrendous. So settling into a new job, I would say, there's no such thing as having too much money or being too well prepared while you get yourself settled in. Always make sure that you're by access points like metro stops, preferably bus stops or trolley buses, because where I live, I'm close to a railway station, but the Conservative Party have taken away a lot of our buses and trains. So I would say there could be a higher level of stress and unexpected costs. So make sure you've got plenty to start you off. That's my advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely a good tip there, Alex. And what about public transport in Greece? Did you find it relatively easy to use the public transport system there?
Yes and no. Buses can be absolutely heaving. Sometimes they're infrequent, and they're not very good at stuff like live departures boards unless it's. Well, I lived in Zographou for my first job, and it's beautifully stuck in the past over there. So you won't expect much up there. However, on Patissy Street, there's plenty of live departures boards, so that's pretty good. Plenty of trolley buses in some parts of the city. Just yes and no, really. Like when they're running, they run great, and when they're not running, or they're heaving or whatever, or you're stuck in traffic, then it's a bit of a pain. So they say that Athens is is it the 11th worst in Europe or the 11th worst in the world? Oh, I think that's a bit cruel. I think it's the 11th worst in Europe, and you just have to bear in mind that many people have a family car and motorbikes, so public transport is still one of those things that is sort of a bit overshadowed sometimes.
Mm-hmm. For sure, for sure. Yeah, I remember the first time I was in Greece, well, in Athens, and I was trying to, I think, get to Plaka to like do some sightseeing. And I just ended up at the wrong bus stop because obviously all the bus stations are written in Greek. And I was like trying to navigate using Google Maps, which was in English, and trying to match the Greek letters, which obviously, they're so different to like English. And
Yeah, it's a little unclear sometimes because they've got those displays with those little LEDs or little, I don't know what. It's not really a problem for me because I've been going to Greece since I was a child, and I picked it up in Crete when I was quite young. I took a GCSE in modern Greek when I was about 16, 17 because I didn't like art and didn't want to do it for my A level. And my dad's got books around the house, and what with social media, radio, apps, YouTube, live streaming, I can tune into a Greek station whenever I want. I find English television and radio and the advertisements, I find them incredibly irritating. What with our sense of humor, we have some very, very deliberately irritating adverts, and people love the British sense of humor. Oh, I can't wait to get away from it and just listen to Greek instead. So I actually don't find Greek all that hard at all, just purely because I still have a bit of a about my own culture. As I said, there's not many radio stations around here, and I was overjoyed when my dad got broadband internet when I was about 14, and I could just listen to Greek night and day, and sometimes at night. Yep. So yeah, not a problem.
Great. Do you have a go-to song in Greek or a go-to artist, your favorite artist?
Oh,
Maybe you can give our members some recommendations.
Oh God. I mean, all of them. I would say. No, I couldn't possibly pick out a favorite, to be honest with you. I think there's been so many great artists that have entered Eurovision with either a very Greek sounding song or a not very Greek sounding song, but the artist, the rest of their music is very authentic. I would say everybody loves Sakis Rouvas and Helena Paparizou because they're the stars of Eurovision. And then you've got stars like Eleni Foureira and Tamta who put themselves on the map at Eurovision for the rest of the world, but for Cyprus. But for me, I was like, no, I've always loved Eleni Foureira and Tamta. They're always at the Mad Video Music Awards, like strutting their stuff, incredibly flexible and dancers, incredible performers. I grew up listening to Despina Bandi, Onirama. Who else? Oh God! And I'm hoping to see Melisses at the Kavitos Hill on Tuesday. I'm bringing my boyfriend with me, and he's a little reluctant to fall in love with Greek music as much as I do. He might go off and watch the football, and I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, men. So I have to say. That's great, Alex. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else probably left out. So yeah, let's maybe go ahead and wrap up because I think we covered a lot of topics today, including employment, public transport, language, things like that. Do you have any other culture shocks, let's say about working in Greece or anything that you want to advise or give advice to any of our members about, like, before they come here, like a heads up or something like that?
There is a big one, and that is in British culture. I would say a heads up. Greek people are very old fashioned and they've got very strong family values, and they will belittle you. Adult independence is something that we're trained for in British culture with strictness. We can be quite a sort of
emotionally abusive towards each other. We British people, we exile our children into boarding school from a young age, and then we don't give them hugs, and we have this sort of stranger danger type thing. And like being alone is good for you. It's oh god, it's really hard sometimes being English. The high expectations of the education system. But in Greece, of course, they have high expectations too, but they find it hard to respect you as an adult. They don't think, now that young woman is minding her own business, going about her daily life. They will just come up to you and talk to you like a child and tell you what's best for you. And if you talk about your student loans, your student debt, your money struggles, it does not compute to a Greek person that English people don't have much money. I honestly do not have much money. I blew it all on an education and the cost of living. And they don't seem to understand that, like, I live on my own. I pay for my own products. I pay for my own food. I make my own way to work. I clean my own house. I cut my own hair. I don't go home to a home cooked family meal. I mean, okay, yeah, sure, I'm living with my parents now, but in British culture, that's degrading. It's demeaning. It's a sign of failure that you live with your parents. And it's really hard for my mum and dad that my sister and I live here. But that's because we've been hit hard by our failing industries. My sister's a professional archaeologist and I'm a language teacher, both of which are such badly paid jobs in the UK. And it's a shame because she has a master's and I have 2 teaching certificates. They just do not seem to understand that, look, do not let my accent fool you. I am not rich. Looking out for number one is part of British culture and it will cost you everything. I have bills to pay. I need you to stop giving me cookies and hugs. I need you to give me lots of money so that I can pay the bills that my parents expect me to. There are different expectations in Mediterranean culture and British culture. So British people are very individualized and Greek people are very family orientated. And so, yeah, that's a hard one. I don't have any LGBT related issues, but I know some people that have found it hard. Like, this is me, this is my identity, this is my life. I know you're old fashioned, but yeah, they sort of think family first and everything. And it's, for some people, it's just like, no, career first or sexual identity first. And for me, like, going to Greece out of choice, as a lifestyle choice, as opposed to out of a family related thing. Oh, do you have family out there? No, I live here because I want to. I'm a modern woman. I do things because I want to. So yeah, that for me is a culture shock, that the lifestyle choices are a bit confusing to them. And as I said, money problems in other countries do exist. So
I really love how you're so vulnerable and honest about these things, and this is an actual problem, and people don't have money and people struggle, and I feel like we are entering some kind of recession. And especially, I also did a bachelor's in languages, and I know that a lot of people are struggling out there, and it's so important to share our experiences and just be open and honest about it. And I think people are not really open to having these kinds of discussions. So I do really appreciate your honesty and your vulnerability in all of this. And I just can't wait for our members to see this and respond, because I think this will definitely resonate with a lot of people. So yeah, I do really appreciate that.
Sure.